Most people understand money in a very limiting way. They understand money as something that they have to gain, they have to keep, they have to save, and that is the limited understanding of money. What if I told you there are unconventional and possibly weirdest habits that will make you wealthy that most people do not do and do not understand? And that's why they live in scarcity, they live in fear, they live in limitations because they are afraid of money on some level, that money will run away and they will not have enough or they will lose everything that they have. Those limitations keeps them in poverty consciousness. So today I want to share with you the 5 weirdest habits that will make you wealthy. And by the way, all these habits I have applied over the years and I do still to the day, because these are the habits that created six-figure salary in my investment banking job. And these weird habits have created a very successful soul-led business for me. And by the end of this video, you will be able to change the way you see money, perceive money, so that you can create more wealth, abundance, and prosperity in your life. So the number one weirdest habit is I talk to my money. I see money as living and breathing entity in my life. I have a relationship with money. I do not use money for my advantage. I see money and I honor money and I respect money. So what does that mean? Usually people see money as something that they use, they spend, or they get. So it is a toxic relationship with money. But ultimately, I want you to see money as something that you have wholesome relationship with. So you love money, you honor money, you respect money. Because when we see money as something that we have relationship with, like we have relationship with our family or our partners or our friends, someone who we love and care about, when we see money in from that lens, we change the way we feel around money. Because when we see money as something that only comes and goes, that I receive sometime, I may not receive other times, then we are creating scarcity in our energetic field and we are fearing money rather than loving money. And this is where I want you to change your relationship with money. I want you to see it as a living, breathing entity that you love, that you honor, that you respect. And when you change that lens of the way you see money, you will start feeling that money always is there for you, to support you, to honor you, to grow you, to expand you. That is a healthy relationship with money. But most people, they have a toxic relationship with money because they are scared of losing it. They have attachment with money. Like we talk about toxic attachments in relationships, this is the toxic relationship people have with money. And that's why they are afraid of money. That's why they have so much scarcity around money. And I want you to flip that switch completely to create your relationship with money with love, with honor, with respect. Not only that, but I write love letters to money because it is an entity that I have a relationship with. Money is energy, and that energy can come to you easily if you have a loving relationship, or that energy will be repelled if you have a toxic relationship with money. So this is why we want to create that loving relationship, and that's why I would recommend writing a love letter to money. Like, how can you move into the energy of loving money so that you create more abundance? That's how you can expand your capacity for more wealth and abundance. If you have that relationship, that sacred relationship with money, rather than fear-based relationship with money. The second weirdest habit that I have with money is I circulate money with joy. I like to spend money with ease, peace, and joy. And the reason I say it is weird because a lot of people think that spending money is something is being taken away from them, but it isn't. Nothing is being taken away. They just perceive that because they operate from fear. They operate that they may not have that money ever again. And that's why the first habit is so important, to change that relationship so that you understand you can circulate money with love and joy. And I'll tell you why that is important. So important. It is more important for you the way you spend money, the way you circulate money, than the way you receive money. If you change the way you feel, how you circulate money, you will open the floodgates of receiving money in such a beautiful way. And this is why I circulate money with joy. And I'll tell you why that is important. So when you are circulating money, whether you're paying your bills, your mortgage, your rent, or buying food or shopping, whatever that is, you are going to spend it regardless, whether you spend it with fear, whether you spend it with joy. You will spend that money one way or another. But when you spend that and circulate that money with joy, what are you doing? You are shifting the value of the money. When we spend it with joy, we have to think about that when we pay that bill, that electricity bill, that insurance, that mortgage, that money goes to an institution, right? And that institution has employees, and those employees have family, have kids. So when you circulate, when you give that money to that institution, that electricity bill is being paid through you, you're not just paying your bill. You are helping a kid to go to school. You are helping a child to be fed. You are helping that employee to be able to circulate that money to their children. So do you see how different energy is? I really focus on the energy because money is energy. It is frequency, and we are energy. We are frequency. And the way we shift frequency and energy really shift our capacity for wealth and abundance. We open ourselves for more by giving more. That's why I love circulating. I love giving money. I love it. I love it so much. I love to give more money. I always say the more money I give, the more money I receive. So I'm always circulating with joy, with love, with knowing that every bill that I pay, I am helping a child, I am helping a family, I am helping and circulating and making sure the economy is running smoothly. Those institutions are paying salary to their employees, and I am instrumental in that process, in that economy. So that's why circulating money is such an important thing for you. Whenever you pay money, pay with joy, with love, with abundance, with knowing that how much you are changing lives by paying your bills. The third weirdest money habit that I have that will make you wealthy is I expand the purpose of my money. What does that mean? So I receive money in one form, and the way I circulate, I can expand its purpose. So let me give you an example. So over 10 years ago, I built my mother's home. It was my dream, and I'm so honored to fulfill that dream that I wanted to build a home for my mother. And that dream I fulfilled over 10 years ago, before I had a high paying job, before I started my business, before I had a lot of money, before everything. I did that when I was making around $1,500 a month. And that $1,500 a month, even though it sounds not a lot, I was early on in my career, in banking career, and I made around 1,500 pounds, maybe that might be $1,800 or maybe $2,000 a month. So even though with that 1,500 pounds that I was making, I expanded its purpose. How I expanded the purpose of that money, even though I did not have a lot of money, I had this insight and idea of building my mother's home and giving her money to build that home. So how I expanded the purpose of that money, that 1500, by borrowing, by getting a loan. In that time, over 10 years ago, I got a loan, in enough money through loan to build that home that I had in my mind. And when I got that loan, I expanded the purpose of my money, because when I started paying for that loan every month, that 1500 that I had, of course, I was paying my rent and I was paying my bills and everything else. But it was so abundant, because not only I paid my bills and everything fine, I also made that payment for that loan that I got. And I had no resistance to getting that loan, because the vision was big. Vision was, I want to build my mother's home. That was a vision. So it was an expansive purpose. So I expanded the purpose of my money. So when I expanded that purpose, what happened? I started getting promoted in my job, because the purpose of money was expanded. That means I created a vessel and a vision to build that home for my mother by using that just small amount of money, by borrowing money, and that created expansive vision for that 1500, right? That's expansive vision for that 1500. And that is how you can expand the purpose of your money. Because when you expand the purpose of your money, you open your vessel to receive more. The vision is bigger. That's why the vessel starts becoming bigger. So what happened? I started getting promoted in my career, my jobs. Every year, my salary kept increasing because the vessel became bigger, because the vision was bigger. So I was easily paying my monthly loan repayment, easily and effortlessly, because initially I felt like, I don't know if I can. But I was able to, because the purpose of money was expanded. So what I want you to learn from that, doesn't matter how much money you make, you can expand the purpose of that money by having a bigger vision. So another example I can give you is the business. When I launched my business, I invested a lot of money in the business initially. And the money that I have in the saving, I invested. So what I did, I expanded the purpose, because the vision was, I want to attract millions of people to my energy, to my frequency, to help them transform their life. That is a big mission and purpose. So this is how we expand. So for example, if I invested 50,000 pound in my business, but the vision is to reach out to millions of people, which will expand my vessel in order to create an impact as big as reaching millions of people. So that is an expansive vision for that 50,000 pound, right? It's an expansive vision. So would I fear spending 50,000 if I know the vision is to reach millions of people and impact millions of people and change millions of people's life? Absolutely not. I would easily spend that 50,000. So that's what I did. I didn't have millions of pounds in my bank account, but I used that 50,000 to expand into the vision of reaching millions of people. What happened then? My YouTube started going viral. Started attracting aligned people, started changing life, healing, shifting their identity, expanding their businesses, really shifting their relationship with money and wealth and abundance to operate and manifest a bigger level of income and wealth. All of that happened because I used that 50,000 pound as an expansive vision for that money. So yes, millions of people came, millions of people watch my videos on Instagram now and YouTube, because the vision is bigger. And that's how you can use whatever money you have. And I've given you an example of 1,500 and 50,000. Doesn't matter the amount. When you have expansive vision, you can expand the purpose of your money. The fourth weirdest money habit that will make you wealthy is that creating a demand from the universe. The money is energy and frequency, and it is created when we create a bigger demand. The more money you will receive when you create a bigger demand in the universe. So what does that mean? For example, when I launched my business, I created a bigger demand. I said to the universe, God, divine Allah, that I don't want to just be paid six figures. I want to create a vessel that opens millions and billions. So the only way I could create that vessel is through quitting that 9 to 5 job where I was making six figures, move into launching my business to open my vessel to create that millions, right? I created a bigger demand in the universe. And as soon as I created that demand in the universe, again, the YouTube started going viral. I started attracting aligned clients. I started working with really wonderful entrepreneurs, business owners who were already on a higher level wealth, but they wanted to go higher. They wanted to shift and move into the wholeness of love, joy, and prosperity. They wanted to move into exponential growth with ease rather than fear, rather than hard work, rather than push energy. They wanted to move into flow and effortlessness. So that's why they found me. We worked together. We did deep work. So what I did, I created that bigger demand. And when I created that bigger demand, the money started flowing through that business. So that is you creating a demand in the universe, not with doubt, but certainty, with conviction. And when we move, when we create that energetically, that demand. So if you are somebody who wants to, right now, maybe you're making six figure, you want to move into millions, you would have to create a demand in the universe by moving in the energy that I am moving into that identity of a millionaire who creates the vessel to help and change people's life, or provide these services and products to people that change their life. And I am creating that demand through investing, like I invested in 50,000 in my business. You invest in yourself, in your vessel, in order to expand yourself for a bigger mission. Expand your energy for a bigger mission. And that's how you create bigger demands. So that's how you start changing your relationship with money, because you stop seeing money as something to be scared about, something to fear. You start seeing money as something to expand and to evolve, because energetically you must match the frequency of money with ease, peace, and love, not from fear and scarcity. Most people cannot move into the next level of wealth because they are operating from scarcity and fear. And by the way, it doesn't matter how much you make. I've known people who are multi-millionaire. Personally, I know them, some of them friends, who operate from so much fear and scarcity. So they work hard, they get sick, and they are physically unhealthy, but they keep pushing and keep pushing and pushing. They don't see this perspective of wealth and abundance can be created with ease, with flow, if they change the way they feel around money, the way they see money, the way they circulate money, the way they create demand. We create demand with expansion, not from contraction. So that is the way you expand your money. That is the way you create bigger demand in the universe, to shift the way you receive money. You will have completely different relationship with money if you start doing these things. Completely different. Like, you will be so expansive that you will start manifesting things left, right, and center, and you will be like, oh my goodness, how did I keep myself away from this for so many years? Because I was using money in such a different way, in such a scarce way. And these are the habits that are really change the game of how you use money, how you perceive money, how you spend money, how you receive money. The final weirdest habits that most business people will not agree with and do not do, that I've embodied and incorporated in my business, is that I make financial decisions through intuition, not logic. Not through rational mind, but through deep knowing and intuition. That's how I make decisions. And I do not sit and monitor every single little details of my business, I move from a higher perspective around what would expand my business. And I make that decision from that. Most people are stuck in the nitty-gritty of monitoring every single thing around their business, and they get stuck in that, oh, this 1% growth and 2% growth and 0.5% growth, and that is amazing. No, I think about 1,000% growth. I think I move from that perspective. What could create 1,000% growth in my business? From that perspective, from that level of energy, I make moves from that perspective. And I did that with one of my clients recently. And his vision for his business was, when we started working together in the beginning, was he wanted 30% growth in his business by the end of the year. That was the target he was moving from. And that target kept him in that fear-based, that scarcity, that kept him in that limitation, that 30% growth, that kept the business in a different level. But when we started working together, I was like, not 30%, start thinking from 300%. Move from 300%. What would that look like if your business is doing 300% in a year? What does that look like? What is the movement in the business that you have to make in order to make 300% growth? And that completely shifted his perspective on running his business. That changed things so rapidly that his month on month business grew tremendously. And he's now incorporating new way of running his business, the new strategy that he never thought about from 30% perspective. But when he shifted his way of thinking of 300%, the whole strategy, whole view of the business changed. He stopped thinking about the minor thing. He started focusing on the major things, things that move the needle in a bigger way. Not only the needle, but actually shift the business completely. And he's on that trajectory now to creating that 300% growth in the business. So this is how I make moves, because business is an extension of me. It's a energy, it's a frequency, it's a living, breathing entity, the business. So the more I move from a higher energy and frequency, the more business expands into the higher energy and frequency. These are the weirdest habits that most business owners might not incorporate and might not know actually how to do that. These are the habits that really shifted the way I run my business, because I don't come from a business background. I come from a corporate background. So for me to build a business from ground up, from nothing to everything that is right now, and I is creating this vessel, and I am moving this business in a bigger way because I see it from a different perspective, and that shifts the way I receive money, the way I create wealth, the way I shift energy for my clients who are business owners, who are entrepreneurs, who are creating bigger growth, quantum leaps. They are bending reality. They are converting 10 years in 1 year. Why? Because their energy frequency, the way they operate, the way they see money in a very, very different way. So if you are someone who wants to create that vessel, that capacity, whether you are a professional, whether you are a business owner, you want to create that vessel and expand that vessel for wealth to create more abundance, then you can click the link below to apply for my mentoring, to quantum leap your financial reality completely. If that's you, then click the link below to apply for my mentoring. And I trust this video has really given you a different perspective on money. And with that, like this video if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel. And may the light in me reaches the light in you.